Hamas has been on the back foot since Israeli ground troops entered the Gaza Strip shortly after October the 7th, 2023. And yet the war grinds on 19 months later, as Hamas, despite an estimated 20,000 losses, continues to wage an insurgency from within the rubble of Gaza. In straight confrontations between the IDF and Gazan insurgents, the military almost always comes out on top. So Hamas follows the guerrillas' principle to fight only when there's an advantage. This often means retreating rather than confronting when the IDF advances. Fighters dressing in civilian clothing and prominent use of ambushes and hit-and-run attacks. A key component for any insurgency is the terrain in which it can hide itself. No terrain is more dense and difficult to operate in than a city. Not only does it provide an insurgent with alleys, tunnels, and mouse holes to travel unseen through, but the environment provides ample attack opportunities from every angle.
Well, the thing is they're not trying to do the same thing, right? Israel wants to take and seize and control large swaths of ground right now. That's not what Hamas wants to do, per se. It wants to just increase the costs on the IDF for operating.
Raphael Cohen, a political scientist with experience of the US's counterinsurgency efforts in Iraq, notes that while Hamas may be taking a kicking on the tactical level, on the strategic tier, the balance sheet is more even.
We're doing this interview on the heels of the UK, France, and Canada issuing that statement, condemning Israeli actions as all. You've also exacerbated tension on support for Israel inside the United States, which has long-term strategic significance here too.
Like other insurgencies before it, Hamas doesn't seek to dominate the battlefield, but rather to outlast its opponent's stamina, while bleeding it of the will to fight through casualties. Its weapons of choice for doing this are all standoff weapons in one form or another, allowing it to attack the IDF from distance. While pivotal in the opening minutes of the war, Hamas's rocket arsenal is a shadow of the firepower it held 2 years ago. The multi-barrel launchers it once held reduced to more opportunistic single launches.
If you look at the early opening days of the war, you saw sort of large-scale rocket barrages towards much of central Israel. As their magazine stockpiles have dwindled, those have basically tapered off.
Due to the IDF's preference for heavy deployment of armor, Hamas makes frequent use of RPGs, including the in-house built Al Yassin 105 anti-tank rounds. But it also targets Israeli infantry with the easy-to-use RPG, especially when troops are holed up in buildings. Though more complex to master, sniper rifles are also a go-to weapon for insurgents, either targeting infantry or vehicle crews when the troops take a moment to relax. Improvised explosive devices, IEDs, are a key weapon for Gaza's armed factions, having been responsible for a number of IDF fatalities in recent weeks. Hamas is even reported to be scavenging the explosives from Israeli bombs that fail to explode for use as material in IEDs.
You also, if you look at the conflict where it was and to where it's evolved now, it's devolved more from coherent military action down to sort of one-off insurgency tactics, so IEDs, sniper fire, and the like. In that sense, it's sort of similar to the evolution that we saw in Iraq, where you have more of these sort of one-off attacks rather than sort of coherent, large-scale military maneuver.
Every insurgency is as much a political contest as a war, and for that reason, the information battle is critical. Hamas's efforts in this regard can be seen in its frequent equipping of its fighters with GoPros, and its editing of attack videos, often cutting the ending to obscure the actual damage caused to an IDF target. Its elaborate hostage handover ceremonies and the drip feed of hostage videos are example of it leveraging information against its enemy. But the cult of martyrdom it has created also shows the same tools at use on its own ranks and population. The ability to recruit new fighters is essential for any insurgency to survive, with statements from US officials at the start of the year suggesting US intelligence estimates Hamas recruited around the same number of fighters to its ranks as Israel has killed in the war.
You degrade the experienced fighters and you get a new recruit, you're not going to get the same quality of recruit. So I don't, the way that number usually gets spun is, well, Israel's not making progress. I think Israel is making progress. It's just not making it enough.
Which asks the question, is the progress Israel is making against Hamas's insurgency sufficient and fast enough to destroy Hamas or to save the remaining hostages?